Hello.
Hey, hi Alexi. I
Nice
should.
background.
I was just about to change that. Thank you.
Why?
Mm. Looking more professional now.
Do you hear echo?
No, I hear you
No?
completely fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wondering if I need to do something. Okay, I think it's just one of the last weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a question from Jefferson. Are we on the last week? I think so because of the extension, we also will have, and by the way, if you haven't seen the announcement, we have extended the deadline for the project by 1 week. So deadline is not today, but in 1 week from today to submit the homework, not homework, the project. I know some of you already finished, so apologies, but I see that a lot of people haven't finished yet, and for them, probably it is very helpful. So you have 1 week. Yeah, and there was another question. If this process is automated, it is not automated. So once you submit, everyone submits your project. Then what we will do is I have a Jupyter notebook, like a script that will assign each of you 3 projects to review. And then you will review 3 projects. You will fill in a spreadsheet, and after that there is another script that I will need to run. Once the review process is done, there is another script that I will need to run to get the scores. So this is somehow automated, but not quite. So it's still quite manual process. That's why, unfortunately, you will need to wait till everyone has submitted the projects, till the project is over, and then there will be another a week to actually finish peer reviewing. So I think it's a lot of trouble to try to write an app to automate that. So I think this is a bit simpler. Sejal, by the way, do you know if Wiki is joining today? If Victoria is joining?
She said she's joining in a few minutes.
Okay. So I'll quickly connect the power. Else my computer will die. Okay, I think while we are waiting for Victoria, there are some questions. Let me share my screen. No, this is me. Okay, I'm trying to go away. So there is a Zoom thing that doesn't let me select. Maybe I'll do it like this. Okay. Yeah, so this time I decided to send a link with Slido in advance, so we get some questions before the thing started. So we actually have 5 questions already. I don't know if we should wait for a week for Victoria or start. Maybe we can start answering, then Victoria joins and also will help us. So the first one I have learned. By the way, Sejal, do you want to say anything before we start answering questions? Or
No. Let's proceed. Just hi everyone, in case I didn't say hi already.
yeah. So the question is, I've learned many amazing things about data engineering from this Zoomcamp. May I ask what are some areas and topics that have been left out of DE scope that are also important? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I think we updated. Maybe we should move that section to the main README page. You know, that part where there are some additional things that we could do in our setup, such as writing unit tests and the CI/CD framework and so on and so forth. I think it's in the project section, but maybe we should move it to the parent branch. But those are some of the things that you can cover a bit further, I would say, to make a complete packaged environment for yourself, as well, including the test cases and automatic deployment pipelines. So,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to
yeah,
move it out of the project and put it
right.
like next steps, right?
Exactly. So this is just something that I would like to say, like based on that question, like see if like how many things can be automated out of this. There might be some cases like where you can run scheduled pipelines in Airflow or whichever tool you're using in order to generate like more frequent reports, maybe weekly reports for results that you need on a daily basis. Let's say if you have I don't know, a forecasting pipeline where you're estimating the stock prices a week from now. Maybe you can have a scheduled cron job based on that, and that something, and with a dashboard that can reflect those predictions, or like any real time stock market prices also on a weekly basis or on a daily basis to you. So that is also an app that you can create for yourself. So just an idea. So, Alexi, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, so there are a few things we didn't cover. So for example, we didn't cover serverless, which is quite an interesting concept also for stream processing. So let's say you have a stream and then you have a Lambda function or whatever, I don't remember how they are called in Google. But you have a function that you use for consuming from a stream and then doing something and then putting it to another stream. And then you can build quite complex pipelines from these streams without writing the consumer code yourself. So you just write a Lambda function that is applied to a stream and does something, and then internally it handles all the like everything you need to handle to consume and so on. So this is quite a cool concept, the serverless. Another thing we didn't cover and could be useful for you as a data engineer is Kubernetes, or similar thing, like for example, using AWS batch on Amazon, or using Kubernetes jobs or something like that. Also could be quite useful.
Totally. Yeah. +1 for Kubernetes. I think most companies are using it, preferring to use Kubernetes as their choice of cloud cluster instead of AWS. So having self-hosted solutions on Kubernetes is definitely a plus. So yeah, definitely recommend learning it.
And Victoria is joining. And there is another thing I would like to recommend to learn about is something we didn't cover at all. So with serverless, the thing I mentioned, we kind of covered that a little bit in the streaming week. With Kubernetes, we kind of covered it a little bit in batch week. I mean, we at least mentioned that you can use a Kubernetes job for batch jobs or serverless for streaming. What we didn't cover at all is the concept of data monitoring, data quality checks, and things like this. So there are a few nice tools that do that. So for example, this week, tomorrow in Data Talks Club, we will have a webinar, a workshop about data monitoring with YLogs. So YLogs is a tool for doing data monitoring. There are other nice tools, like maybe you heard about Great Expectation or Soda SQL. There are quite a few of them. This is something we didn't cover at all. Well, a little bit maybe in the DBT week we covered testing a bit. But yeah, I think it deserves more attention. I think this is something that many companies are looking into. So yeah, definitely worth checking. And Victoria, so we're answering question that I've learned many amazing things about data engineering from the Zoomcamp. May I ask what are some areas or topics that have been left out of data engineering scope that are also important? So maybe you also have some ideas?
Hi. No, I think it was good. Definitely quality. I agree on that one. With DBT, you can do a lot. There's a bunch of packages as well, but of course you have to have an implementation. Other than that, Observability, I'm not sure if you mentioned, I guess you did as well.
Yeah,
also
monitoring observability.
Also very good tools. Yeah, I think that's good.
Something we also didn't cover specifically, but we mentioned a few times, tools like Fivetran and so on. I think they're getting popularity, or Airbite is an open source alternative for Fivetran. So this is also worth checking a look. But as you see, there are many things that didn't make into the course that that look quite useful. But then you might think, okay, now I need to learn 5-6 more topics. Maybe you shouldn't just, try to learn as much as possible. If your goal is to, let's say, work as a data engineer, you can already start applying to data engineering positions and then see what they ask you, what kind of things that they need from you that you don't know yet. And then based on that, because there are thousands of things that you can potentially learn, and it's very difficult to select what should be the next one. So maybe base your decision on whatever you hear from potential employers. Okay, I guess that would be it.
Yes.
If we have already submitted our project, we will be able to begin peer reviewing right away, or do we need to wait until after the deadline? I think I answered that question. So unfortunately, you will need to wait because this process is quite manual. So we will need to create all these things ourselves, and we can do this only after the deadline. So question from Gary, should we use Spark for files saved in Google Cloud Storage? Where does the output of Spark queries should be saved? How could we visualize the Spark output? Anyone wants to take it?
No, I think you can take that.
Okay, so for example, in Spark, there is, this is something I was Googling recently, Google Spark GCP BigQuery connector. So there is a good article that shows you what you need to do. So you need a jar, but you need to use this jar when you submit your Spark job. And when you do, like, let's say your files are stored in Google Cloud Storage. So you do something with these files, and then you have multiple options. So first option, you can save it back to Google Cloud Storage, and then let's say create it as an external table or something like this, like we saw in week 3. Another option would be saving it directly to BigQuery using this. So you just say write, and then you say you want to write to BigQuery, and then it uses this connector. Is it actually Python code? Yeah, this is PySpark. So it uses then this connector to connect to BigQuery and write it. I think you also, like, I don't know how permissions actually work here. Maybe you will need to specify also the key here somehow. But probably if you're doing this already from what it's called, DataProts Spark, this thing. So if you use this thing from Google, then it should already have all the permissions that you need in order to write to BigQuery or in order to read from Google Cloud Storage. So if you use DataProc or Prots, I don't know how to pronounce it, then you should, theoretically, it should be as easy as that. Should just add extra jar and write to BigQuery. And then once the data is in a data warehouse, then you can use the materials from the DBT week, Analytics Engineering week, to actually consume the content from the data warehouse and to visualize it. Anything to add?
Perfect answer.
Okay, let me check if I actually covered everything. So how can we? Yeah, I think I covered that. During the peer review, is it expected for us to try and install around the code following instructions, or it is fine to review documentation? Well, it depends on how much time you have. So ideally, yes, you should try to run it. You should try to learn as much as possible from this code. And I'm pretty sure if you try to run it, you will learn a lot from the other projects. But I know if you do that for all 3 projects, then you might not have time to actually, have a life. So it's up to you. You can just check the documentation and see that things make sense there. You don't see any big mistakes that just jump on you, and you can do that, or you can run everything. So yeah, up to you. But if you have time, please run and please try to learn as much as possible from your peers. And based on what I heard from students from the previous course, from Machine Learning Zoomcamp course, they learned a lot from trying to run the projects. So please do that. And by the way, I saw that one of the projects was run on Yandex Cloud. I don't think it's possible for you. It would be possible for you to actually try to reproduce it and run it. So yeah, in some cases you will not be able to even do that, right? So if it's the case for you, then the only thing you can do is just review the documentation. I covered everything, right? Okay, between Spark and Airflow is in different machine VM. So doc file must be able to do Spark submit for executing the Spark job. Yes, I think so. So I don't think I can draw anywhere. So let's say you have one. So you have one machine with Spark, right, and you have another machine with your Airflow. And the machine with Airflow need to be able to send a request to Spark to do Spark submit, right? So they need to live in the same network. And if this is the case, if you can do Spark submit and then say the URL or IP address of that Spark computer, yeah, that's enough. One thing though that you might need to do is you will need probably to install Spark to Airflow to be able to do this. Maybe Sejal will correct me, but I think you will need to do this. So because you will need to have Java, you will need to have this Spark submit script in order to be able to actually send the jar over the network to the Spark master. So you will need to modify your Airflow containers. If you use the Docker images from the course, you will need to modify them. You will need to install Java. You will need to install Spark. But when you do Spark submit, you just say master. What is master, and then you specify the master of that virtual machine with Spark. Yeah, I think that's how this is how I would do it. And actually, instead of running Spark on a virtual machine somewhere, I would use this thing, dataproc. This is relatively simple to run it. So you just need to click a few buttons and then wait for 5 minutes when it creates a cluster, and then you have a cluster. So it's pretty convenient. Okay. Does anyone want to take the next one?
Yeah. So data mesh is part of the extra topics that we were going to cover. And those are going to be a smaller video, so there's no practice around this or anything like that, like in the Wix, but it's more around explaining the concept so you have a familiarity with it, and then you can deepen the concept if you need to once you start working, let's say, or something like that. I have data mesh specifically, and I'll be recording that at the end of this week once I'm back in Berlin, so it should be probably by the weekend, I guess, or next week. Not sure when we plan to upload all of them, but yeah, should be soon enough before the deadline. Guess that's it.
Yeah, so I want to actually record one or more videos about Spark, something I planned a month ago. I still didn't do, so I want to do that this week probably. And then, because I see that some of you have problems with, I don't know, reading from Google Cloud or running things on Dataproc. So I want to do that first, and then after that, I will take care of MLOps video. So we will at least have 2 videos, data mesh and MLOps. I don't know about the rest. So
I think we have 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know what are the other 2.
We had them, yes, at the very end. Yeah.
Oh, it's more than 4. But I think we just didn't change it yet, right?
Yeah.
So was Ambush going to take Apache Iceberg?
Yes, and Databricks maybe, or data lakehouse. We also kind of cover all of this. Not all of these concepts, but like about 3 office hours before we talk about data mesh. Ankush did like a very nice explanation if you want to go to one of those videos. Also, we talk a lot about data lakehouse in one of those as well. We've talked about MLOps, I think, as well, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So we touch all of these concepts a little bit in the office hours if you want to go back, but we're going to try to release some smaller videos about this.
Okay.
I think that's it, right?
But yeah, it's for me, I just need to get back to recording mode. And then this is the most difficult thing right now.
Yeah, I can understand.
Okay, in my project, I used a dataset for batch processing. To transform data that comes in batch, I use dbt. Is it bad not to have Spark part in my project? What do you think, Victoria? Is it bad or not?
No, it's not bad. It's about, so normally I wouldn't say you will have both when you're working. It will depend a lot on the use cases and all that. So actually we thought the project this way, that you could use that technology you wanted to use. And is it okay? It's okay if you just use dbt. The same way it would have been okay if you just use Spark as well and not dbt. And you can always, in the future, if you want to, you can always do the Spark part and kind of like the equivalent to what you've done, the transformation you've done in dbt. You can even use a Spark with dbt as well, if you want to get into that. So I think that's okay.
I think it's common that you do some pre-processing while the data is still in data lake. You do pre-processing with Spark. The raw data you pre-process with Spark, but then you put this again back to data lake, but in more processed, prepared format. Then you load this to data warehouse, and then in the data warehouse you do final grouping, aggregations, all these things in order to prepare data for reports, dashboards, and so on. You do that with dbt. This is my understanding how often companies do that.
Yes. Or they use, like, I would say they maybe use for some kind of data Spark, and then some kind of data DT, or the combination of both, and then some data goes directly just to DT, some just directly Spark. So that would always depend, as always, of the use case or the company. Yeah.
Which reminds me of a talk we had recently last week, which is here, this one with Rahul. Wow, so many views. Anyways, so this video with Rahul, so here Rahul talks about modern data warehouse design, and then he mentions here, I think, EMR, so they use Spark for streaming, for processing streaming things, so they consume from Kafka, and then here they have dbt, I don't know if it's visible, and here they have these generic ETLs. So in principle, you can have something like Spark here, then you put this to staging data, then you have dbt that gets data from staging area to the main area. I don't remember how it's called. So check the video if you haven't, but judging on the number of views, probably most of you already watched it.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, this is a cool one.
Yeah, I wanted to. I downloaded it for my plane. So
cool. Yeah, Rahul shared his this link on his LinkedIn, and then a lot of people saw it. So this post was quite popular. So that's why a lot of people came. Yeah, so cool video. Check it out. Okay, Sejal, do you want to say anything?
Nope, all good.
So understand that there is growing importance on data cataloging. Do you think it's beneficial if you could put something together for data cataloging tools, open metadata, etc.? Yeah, I think this is one of the topics. The very first question you ask, what is important, but outside of the scope of the course. And then these data governance tools could be one of those. I don't know if they're data engineering per se. So they are related to data engineering, but I think they're more about, general data or data governance. I think that's the general, how you organize data, how you manage data in your company. This is definitely an important thing, but I don't know who of us can actually put something together for that. I don't know, does anyone of you know anything about open metadata, etc.?
I work a lot on trying to select a data catalog, but haven't used the open metadata or anything like that. I would suggest if you have the time, yes, try it. It's also something, as you said, it's also quite new. Maybe not as advanced as it should be, but judging by the size of the modern data stack and all of that, it's probably not something that any company will ask you. So do not feel the pressure. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, it's very important. It would be quite nice if you can read about it and understand the concepts and all of that. If you even have the time to try open metadata or any other of the open source data catalogs that are out there, that's great. Do not feel the pressure to do so. You'll probably get to do it. There's also more on the data engineering side. I would say probably like a glue crawler or something like that. That's also maybe what the data engineer would participate with the data catalog. We also kind of saw data catalog from the DBT part, but that only covers that part. So it's a bit poor if you think about the whole pipeline that everyone made for the project. Is that clear, or maybe something for the buzzwords if we have the time?
Yeah,
good idea.
we just use internal data catalog, so but it's pretty convenient.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll be able to record anything about that. But actually, maybe it's a good idea to also invite somebody to do a webinar about that. So if any of you know anyone who did a talk about any of these tools, maybe you can connect us, and then we can have a webinar about them.
You had an episode, right, about data governance some time ago? And
yes.
It's about this. I can't remember the names, but they had a book.
Yes, they do. They have a book.
Yeah, and I have Uri. Yeah, and I have this book. I read it during my project about selecting a data catalog. Yeah, I read it.
But this one is more like a discussion. Why do we need data governance and data catalog? I think one of the points here is data governance, just about having a data catalog.
Yeah.
So this is a nice episode, but it's more like theoretical. If you're looking for hands-on practice, this is not the right place. But this is definitely an interesting place to at least start to understand what data governance is. And then, yes, they have a book, so check it out. Will we have a small party after ending the course? Well, we in Berlin can organize something, but in other cities you will have to self-organize.
Or we could just have like a remote
virtual one.
session, virtual one as well after the course. Yeah, definitely. Would be
Yeah.
nice to interact with all the students and how did they find the course and what are they intending to do with it in future.
Yeah, maybe instead of streaming to YouTube, what we should do is just have a Zoom call, like not one directional thing, but get together. So we can try doing something like that. Good idea. Can you please elaborate a bit on project review part? How, when, etc. So I'll start with when. When next week. So because we extended the deadline by 1 week, it means that many of you are still still working on the project, and the deadline for that is next Monday. April 4th. So that's the deadline, and then the review starts. So the review will start next Monday and end on the Monday after that. And when it comes to how, we have these guidelines, these criteria that you will need to. So there will be a Google form, and then you will need to enter the ID of the project you're reviewing, and then for each of the, basically there will be a section in the form there we will say, okay, for problem description, is it 0 point, 1 point, or 2 points? And then you will have something like this for each of the criteria. I think maybe it's helpful if I show you how it looked like for the previous course. Here. Submit. So this is how it looked like. So for problem description, you would need to select one of the points, and then basically for each dimension, you will need to select the variant here, the option. And yeah, this is how you do this. And then at the end, we have a script that takes some sort of an average from all these points. And then this is how you get your score. And then the other thing, if I go back, so to know the assignment, the projects you need to review, you will need to, we will have a table like that, where, so this will be the hash of your email, and then will be the hash of the project that you need to review. And then basically, so for this person, they needed to review these 3 projects. So they would review these projects and go through the project and submit the evaluation results and do this for 3 times. And this thing that was random, so I think we will do something like this time as well. Okay, I think that was more or less everything. I don't know, did I miss anything? Okay, yeah, I didn't cover a few points. So does that mean we are randomly assigned to a few projects to review? Yes, I just showed that. And how many points in order to pass the project and get the certificate? Yeah, so for that we will see. We will take a look at the scores. So because now if we say, okay, in order to pass the course, you need to get, I don't know, 30 scores. And then we say that and only 2 or 3 people pass. And then, well, this is not the situation we want to have. Right? So we want to first look at the projects and then come up with a fair threshold to see that most of you actually pass. Okay, I think I answered that. I hope it's not boring for you, Sejal and Victoria.
Definitely not.
Okay, so even with extra jars needed, I could not write into tables, but only read and process. I think I saw this thing a while back when we were talking about data prots and this thing probably. So unfortunately, I do not know. Like I haven't used this tool. Am I showing the right thing? Yeah, probably. So if you use it from data prods, I don't know what could be the reason, but if you're using it from your VM, the reason could be that your VM maybe does not have permissions to write to BigQuery. So you will need to check that you need to check how to configure this connector in order to be able to use the key. I suspect that this could be the problem. And make sure also your how is it called, like this role that you use for accessing Google Cloud Storage and so on, it can actually write to BigQuery. It should have I think it's BigQuery admin or something like this. So make sure it has that permission. No, it's called service account, I think. So service account should have the right permissions. Yeah, in case maybe you created a separate service account, yeah, make sure the permission is there. Yeah, I do not have, unfortunately, a working example that I can share right now, but this is something I want to check this week and maybe record the video if I have time. Yeah. But please feel free to share this in chat. In Slack. I think some of other students can help with that as well, because I think some of you managed to make it working. Some of you use Spark on GCP. So please share this problem in Slack, and then perhaps somebody who solved this problem already can help you. Anyone wants to start? What do you all enjoy and do outside work and data?
Currently,
Yeah.
currently we're enjoying the sun. Yeah, after work. So it's been consistently sunny for the last couple of weeks. So that's really nice for Berlin, at least as per the Berlin weather. I don't know, what do you guys do?
Yeah, definitely enjoying the sun, going to the park, being a tourist also, even in Berlin or in Argentina. Reading, being with friends. I think I'm pretty normal.
I like
boring.
Lego. My son and I, we do these things from Lego. So this is something I quite enjoy doing. And I don't know why it has this meditative effect. And when you have like, I don't know, 3,000 pieces and you need to build something from this, yeah, this is pretty fun.
Yeah. I'm planning to get a jigsaw puzzle for the same reasons, because at times I feel like I don't know what to do alone with myself, and I'm like, it would be nice to do something where I'm building, not code or not technical projects, but yeah, just something fun for a change.
What is a jigsaw
is
puzzle?
my internet connection all right? Can you hear me?
No. We can hear you, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You said jigsaw puzzle.
It's breaking.
What is that?
The puzzle. I have several as well, so I can lend you some. Because after you've done it once, then the second time is kind of boring.
Yeah, I saw this one. Like it's just, but the one I saw was just a white thing, and you need to figure out how to to build it. But that's probably very cruel, and this is for people who are already good with solving the usual one.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all we do. Well, I guess Lego is not the only thing I do, but
we know you like building things. Building communities, building projects, and then building stuff.
But I don't know if it counts as outside of data or work, does it? I mean, work, yes, but outside of data, not sure.
Yeah, I think it counts. It counts as a hobby.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The question is about top-end public leaderboard. So let me show you what is that. Again, I will use another course as an example. So we will have something like that as well. Course. And then we have this public leaderboard. Where it is? Oh, here it is. So we'll have something like this. Maybe we will design it better because right now it's just, very boring, very textual. But yeah, so this is we have here. Oh, it's less than 100 people, but these are the people who wanted to share some information about them. So we will have something like that. I don't know if the question was actually about that. So what is your decision on the idea of top-end public leaderboard? Great threshold for improvement for next round. I don't know what the question is actually asking. Threshold. Yeah, but this is the idea behind this public leaderboard. And I think it will look something like that. Anything to it?
I also understood something like with the points, like with the homework or something like that.
Yeah, and the one with the points and homework, I think we have it here, right? But this is anonymized. Where it is? Do we have it here actually? Leaderboard. But yeah, I don't know if
I also don't think we could disclose those, so it's okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it will stay like that. Exactly.
I mean, at least you'll kind of know because you can see the hash, right? So you know who are you. So you'll know if you're on the first place.
But then it's up to you if you want to go from this thing here, which is a hash, to this thing here, which is a name and your contact, and then some links like whatever link you want to share. Because when I sent this email to 100 people, not everyone replied. So not everyone wants to be on this page, which I can totally understand.
Yeah.
Towards the end, are we going to at least reveal the names of the top 3 people on the leaderboard, or just for the same reasons we are not going to declare?
It's just that we can't we can't say any names unless there's like an approved somehow. They grant you right. Otherwise, it goes against GDPR. Yeah.
And we didn't ask for permission to share the names when we were collecting this data.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
But I don't see any other questions. So let me check live chat. So in live chat, I see that Marcos says that from data prods, everything works like Google explains. I think this is related to our discussion about, probably this one. So I hope it does because it has all the libraries, all the permissions there. Then other than that, we see that it's getting cold soon. I think it's in Berlin. And as I checked the forecast, I think there will be some even below 0 temperature. I hope it's lying and it will not be the case. So I guess that's all for the day. Does anyone want to say anything before we finish? No? We need to think about the Parquet, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, then.
Do we have an idea how many people are in Berlin? No, they were from all over the world, right? So it definitely has to be online. Yes. Yeah, maybe with Wonder or one of those things that you have like this groups in the same call. Do you know it?
Yeah,
Like breakout rooms?
I think it's Wonder, the one I know, but there must be others. And then you're like a circle, and when you get close to other, you form a circle, and then more people can join, so then you can have multiple circles.
Yeah, I think I know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one?
Yeah, something like this.
This one's this one's better because you actually have an icon and everything. The other one is just like a circle with the photo that you took when you joined. So this one is way more fancy.
I don't remember how this is called. I think I know what you're talking about. I saw it as well. But
I think
this
it's
is
Wonder.
More like Wonder? Okay.
Wonder, yes.
Cut their tone, something like this. No, this is wrong. But yeah, I think there are quite a few of such tools these days. But I think this one is not free, so this is quite expensive.
We can use the 30-day free trial.
Yeah, and up to 25, I think. So right now there are 16 people in this call, in this stream. So maybe we will not need that many, and actually we can do that. But we can think about that. Okay, I think, let me check.
Vicky, were you talking about wonder.me?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Okay.
But it's way more simple. I like this one more. But that one is free, so we can use that one. I don't think it's... there's one more question, actually. How is the data engineering market in Berlin? How can someone land a data engineering job in Berlin? I think there's a lot. Yep. It's also hard to get a data engineer, and that's also why I would assume there are a lot of openings and you will have a lot of options. How can someone land? If you go to meetups or have contacts, that's probably like a good way. Otherwise, just apply.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, actually, there are plenty of data engineering openings. When I was a data engineer in my previous role, I used to get, invitations for job interviews almost every week from recruiters. So there's an abundance for this role in the market. You can definitely try it out.
And now when you changed your title to ML engineer, do you get fewer or more? You don't get anything?
Hardly.
Okay, so we see that being a data engineer is actually, like in terms of market demand, is better, right?
Yeah, I think engineering skills are way more in demand than data science and machine learning skills are.
Yeah, that's interesting. What happened to the sexiest job of the 21st century, right? Nobody now wants to. I think, we had an interesting discussion in one of the podcasts here with Ellen. So Ellen was a data scientist and she became a data engineer. I think she is also talking about how she is from Berlin, so she talks also how to get a job as a data engineer in Berlin specifically. So I think the recommendation was to talk to consulting companies. They have some sort of programs for coaching juniors. So because the business model is to hire as many juniors as possible because they are cheap, and then you sell them to the client for a lot of money. So you need to have training programs so the juniors are effective. So her recommendation was to try to find such an consultancy company and learn there. I hope it's an accurate summary of the episode. Maybe I'm misinterpreting something.
Yeah, I think if you come from non-data background, let's say, and you're just starting with the course and all that, just bear in mind that you'll have to apply a lot, and there'll probably be a lot of rejections. I think that's also how it was for me at the very beginning when I moved to Berlin, because everything was kind of like new and all that. I didn't have a job at the time because I just moved to Berlin and then looked for one. And try to get as many interviews as possible, and then do the challenges and all that will train you a lot, and will also help you know like where the benchmark is, kind of. But yeah, there are a lot of offers, so it's just start applying, start talking to other people, to other data engineers probably as well. That's also good. About the consultants, I don't know. I've never used anything like that.
I worked at an outsourced company, but it was before I moved to Berlin. But I can confirm that in the company where I work, they did have a quite good training process. Like they would have a coach that was assigned to me who would help me with everything. And then like there was some sort of a bootcamp program. And then after that, they would try to sell me to a client. And then they would coach me how to pass an interview with a client. And then once client likes me, now I just start working. So that this is quite common, I think, in outsourcing and consulting companies. But yeah, for me, that was a very long time ago. So I don't know how that actually works now.
That's actually an interesting model. It's good that, companies are actually putting that much effort in coaching the employees to to be honed to certain projects. That's nice.
Yeah, but the thing is, like the business model of buying somebody cheap and selling it for a lot of money and then taking the margin. So unfortunately, sometimes, at least it was in my case, that the salary was pretty low. So yeah, I remember that I didn't have much left after paying for my flat. So be careful. But at least that was experience, right? And after 1 year, I could sell this experience for market standards, let's say. So depending on, let's say, how young you are, how much you want to get this experience. So I think sometimes it's worth to actually, agreeing for a lower salary in exchange for experience, right? And then you get this experience, and then your value on the market becomes higher. And I think another shameless plug, but this is something we actually talked to with Juan Pablo. He was suggesting to look for, small gigs that don't pay a lot, but this is the experience you can sell afterwards. So somewhat similar to what we mentioned, even though he's more into analytics than data engineering. But I think the tips that he shares when he was looking for a job, I think they're pretty universal. And yeah, there was a funny story that he was actually like riding an Uber to be able to survive while he was trying to study things, to switch. So that's a cool one as well. Oh, we have more questions. So I don't know, did we answer that?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan for another Zoomcamp in the near future? The question is it about data engineering Zoomcamp or a Zoomcamp? Because for a Zoomcamp, we want to do a machine learning MLOps Zoomcamp in the near future, in a month or two probably. But when it comes to data engineering Zoomcamp, we need to talk about that. Probably next year, or if it happens, then next year. Anything to add?
Yeah, this for the data engineering Zoomcamp, there's a possibility that we may just revise some of the recordings of the videos. For example, the Airflow setup, which was a little time consuming and also a little effortful on the compute resources side. So maybe we might just find an alternative to some setup instructions so that it works smoothly. So currently the plans are just to refactor the existing Zoomcamp so that it makes it easy for the next iterations. We would otherwise just release a homework or a project-based iteration, right? I think the recordings would still remain the same, but yeah, there could be a new homework cycle, a project cycle, sorry.
Yeah, for what you're talking about, so we finished the project right now, and then there will be another iteration for projects. So if for some reasons you weren't able to work on a project right now, because of many different reasons, there will be another iteration immediately after that. So let's say we finish peer reviewing the week after the next one, and then immediately after that we will start another cohort for projects. So So just wondering, before the deadline extension, how many project submissions were there? So let me stop sharing my screen because I don't want to share accidentally anything sensitive, but I want to look at the number because we have forms here. I want to see how many submissions are there. Yeah, we have 33 submissions. So I think the decision to extend the deadline was a good one. Hopefully by the end of this week, we will see a higher number. But I understand that doing a project is much more difficult than just watching courses and like watching a course and following along. So yeah, these 33 people, you probably put a lot of effort. So thanks for doing that. I saw one person wrote that he put 100 hours already in the project. This is outstanding. Sorry for being so cruel with you, but 100 hours, that's a lot. So let me share screen back. Yeah, I think that kind of answers that. There is a comment from Gregor Ruar. Too many people on the market. Yeah, maybe. So that's probably related to the discussion we had about data engineers and the market. So with or without experience, this is often the key. There are too many people on the market. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But for people without experience, I think it's always the case that there are more people without experience than positions. But once you have at least like half a year, then all of a sudden the balance is the other way around. So there are more companies that want to hire you than the number of people.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I mean, there's definitely a bunch of juniors, and it's always very hard because if you hire a junior, you have to put a lot of effort as well. From like as the manager, team member, or whatever. So there's also that. But I would say there's still a lot of openings, and it's right now very hard to hire people in Berlin, and that's why people are being hired everywhere for data.
It's for senior level, right?
I mean, for senior more, definitely, but yeah.
And I would also say with the pandemic, a lot of roles have gone remote. So maybe not just target on Berlin alone, but if you're located in Germany and for tax reasons, I think they just prefer if you're at least based in the country, if not in the city. So you could look at different EU-based countries as well, based on wherever your target is. And for example, if you're already in Spain, then you can look for, I don't know if I can answer this really well. Maybe you guys can help me out, but some companies allow an EU-wide scope for working, right? From a tax and legal perspective. And some companies prefer that you are within the country, like within Germany at least.
Within the country, yes, I haven't heard about. Within EU, I think it makes it a little bit difficult. So you have to be like self-employed or something like this.
And
then,
many companies have subsidiaries, or they use an agency for a subsidiary in other places. And if it's within the EU, it's way easier. So like, let's say you're, I don't know, in Mexico, to say something, so outside of the EU, then it's going to be very hard to have the subsidiary, the agency and all that. But if you're in Europe, then it's very easy. But it's harder. I would say that's like an extra level. The easiest one is you're in Germany, you're in Berlin, you're in Germany, you're in Europe, and then you're outside of Europe. So it will have to be a bigger company to be able to cover that legally.
Right. Okay, nice.
Okay, it looks like we managed to answer all the questions. And this is actually time when we should be wrapping up.
Yeah.
So I think that's all for today. And thanks everyone for your work, for putting all these hours in working on the project. So I know this is difficult. So thanks a lot for doing that. I know that you're also learning quite a lot. This is not easy. You have many bugs that maybe the course haven't prepared you for solving them, but now when you solve them yourself, this is much better for actually have an experience that is close to real working experience. So yeah, thanks for your hard work, and enjoy this week. Don't forget to sleep, eat, and do other important stuff. So don't just work on the project.
And don't spend 100 hours on the project.
Yeah, well, especially if you already spent 100, so spending another 100 would be too much. Yeah, so I guess that's it for today. So have a great